Driving dish, George's driving dish.
Welcome back, everybody, to Georges Niang's Drive-In Dish. We have a special guest today, the head football coach up at the University of Utah, Kyle Whittingham. Coach Whittingham, thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate you having me on. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, Coach, when I was looking you up, I saw your accolades. I would list them all off, but we'd be here forever, almost as long as you've been here in Utah.
Well, we've had some good players come through here, I'll tell you that, and that's really the key. College football is all about recruiting, and we've had some outstanding talent come through this program.
Yeah, speaking of talent, how are you keeping your guys locked in and engaged with everything that's going on with the coronavirus and quarantining, and maybe just touch on what exactly you are allowed to do, whether it's Zoom workouts, phone calls, and I know you have a big staff and a bunch of players, so how do you keep all of them organized?
Very good question. We've been handed NC2A guidelines for this period of time, and we're maximizing what they're allowing us to do. Right now, we're in a period where we can spend 8 hours a week with our athletes virtually on Zoom and so forth, and having position meetings, and we're just trying to make the most of that. Offense, defense, special teams wise, we're getting all the information installed that they would have had in spring ball. We only had 3 practices in spring. We had 15 scheduled. We only got 3 in. So we're in the process of exposing them all that information that they would have had and all that installation in those other 12 practices.
Yeah, that's tough, and finding time to work out. But I've heard through the grapevine that you're quite the workout guru. What do you do to keep yourself sane?
I work out a lot. That's just something that I've done for a lot of years now. My father was a workout fanatic, and I think I got it from him. He was a guy that was constantly in the gym, and so I've just gotten to a mode where it's just part of my daily routine, and I think I do it for mental health as well as anything else. I mean, it just keeps me in the right frame of mind. It helps me blow off some steam, and it's something that, like I said, I've been doing it so long now, I can't imagine not being able to do it. So been blessed to be able to do it for a lot of years. Yeah,
no, you look great. A lot better than me.
I don't know about that, George. I got a lot of miles on me.
Hey, speaking of miles, I know you probably live your life by a one step at a time method, especially if you continuously getting up to work out. You've been at the University of Utah coaching for 25 years. You've been a head coach for 15 years. Just talk about your time and talk about how much it's meant for you to be at a school that long, because all of us know in this professional business, nothing is guaranteed, and maybe some of your challenges that you've had, but how every day you just continue to take the next challenge and try to become a little better.
Right. Well, first of all, I've been blessed to be here for 25 years, as you mentioned, and that's a real anomaly in this day and age of college athletics. I mean, you just don't see that happen very often. So it's been very fortunate. Being able to be at the university is a great place. I love the University of Utah. It's a place that I think is one of the best kept secrets in the country, although not that much of a secret anymore. But Salt Lake is a great place to live. We've had, I've seen a lot of changes at the university since I've been here. And really, when we moved into the Pac-12 from the Mountain West back in, I think it was 2011, so 9 years ago now, it was like getting a new job. I mean, the bar was raised in every area. Everything is so different in the Pac-12, from facilities to recruiting to who you play. I mean, it was like a brand new challenge. So in that respect, it was very rejuvenating for me as a coach to make that transition to the Pac-12.
Yeah, Coach, you touched on recruiting. Obviously, I know this is a tough time with recruiting, but then you touched on going from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. I would say two totally different conferences. A guy that would be really good in the Mountain West may not be exactly what you want in the Pac-12. So how did you change your mind and the coaches that you were coaching with, their minds, to recruit the type of guys that you wanted, that you felt could be successful at Utah? Because you've done a tremendous job. I mean, your resume speaks for itself. You're 11-3 in bowl games. So talk about that transition and what was the hardest thing, and how did you make that adjustment?
Right. Well, we knew it was going to be a process. It was going to take some time. It wasn't going to happen overnight. Now, one thing that did happen overnight, right when we got into the Pac-12, we felt that we were very equipped to compete in that league on the line of scrimmage. We had a great offensive and defensive lines, and so we were very competitive there right out of the gate. But the perimeter and the team speed, that's where we lacked. And so we knew it was going to be a 3 or 4 year process to build the roster up, recruit those perimeter players that were on par with the rest of the league. And, there was no shortcuts, and nothing really took us by surprise. I mean, we didn't have anything that just, hit us in the face and we weren't ready for. And so the bottom line is our assistant coaches did a tremendous job of targeting the right athletes that had the high ceilings and the upside to bring into this program and develop them. And we've started to see the fruits of those labors over the last several years with the amount of players that we've had drafted in the NFL. We've had a pretty good run of NFL talent come through this program.
Yeah, I was looking at it today, and you are getting some high-level talent to come to the University of Utah. Sometimes I wonder, how you do it. But just, speak on that and then talk about the culture that you've built. We talked about this earlier off air. But, people don't understand how hard it is, whether you're recruiting JUCO, transfers, or, high school kids. What are you looking for when you build this culture? Because, you have an overall record of 131-64. You've had over 50 guys get drafted in the NFL at your time or as a head coach at the University of Utah. How do you continue to build this culture with new waves and waves of guys, and how do you not, drop?
Well, we've had a really good run of recruiting classes, like I said, and we really put a high premium on character. There's a certain type of guy that we bring into this program. We've turned away literally hundreds of really good football players that we just didn't feel fit the mold of what we're looking for. And so our coaches do a great job of doing a drill down on all these recruits, talking to numerous people through the recruiting process, not just their coach. I mean, we're talking to cafeteria people, principals, assistant principals, counselors, teachers. We're trying to get all the information we can so that we make the right decisions on these kids. And so our assistant coaches deserve all the credit. They're the ones out there on the front line making these decisions and going through this process. And so that's the biggest factor, is bringing the right kind of guys in this program to continue to perpetuate that culture that we've instilled here. We've got a culture here. It's a very family-oriented program. I believe our players genuinely love each other. There's a great deal of camaraderie on this football team, and I think the coaches do a great job of connecting with the players as well. And I think there's a mutual respect there, and the coaches and players get along great. And I don't want to say we don't have our problems. I mean, we're not perfect, but we've got a great group of players.
Join the club. We all have problems.
Exactly. But for the most part, we've got guys who are all pulling in the same direction. The work ethic in this program is outstanding. And we have a mantra, when we bring these recruits in, we tell them, hey, you're going to become us. We're not going to become you. You're going to become us and do things our way. And they do a great job of buying into that. And our upperclassmen do a great job of selling that to the incoming recruits.
Yeah, culture is really big. Now, speaking of culture, California kid, moved to Utah, go to BYU. I like I said, I would list off your accolades, but we'd be here for a while. I know you were, Defensive Player of the Year. You won a couple bowl games. Now, talk to me how it was going to BYU, being a Cougar, and knowing that rivalry, and then being the head coach at the University of Utah.
Yeah, interesting path I took, and
to say the least.
But I can say this: it was not nearly as difficult as you would imagine or you would think. And the reason is this: I played there down in Provo. 81 was my last season. Graduated in 82. Went on to play a little bit of pro ball. Then jumped into coaching. And my first stop was at Idaho State. While I was at Idaho State, my father got the defensive coordinator job here at Utah. And so mentally, I had already made that transition. In our family, blood is thicker than water. And when my dad became a Ute, I was all in. I was all in as a Ute. And so I was up at Idaho State for 3 or 4 years while he was coaching here. So I'd already mentally made that transition. And when I got the chance to come down here from Idaho State, I'd already been a Ute for several years. And so it was no shock or anything like that to me, because I'd already mentally made that commitment to follow the Utes and be a be a fan of the youth program.
And 25 years later, you're still doing this dang thing.
Can't believe it. I can't believe it, George. It's incredible when I think back and just all the things that have transpired in the last 25 years. It's been a heck of a ride, and I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, they haven't kicked you out yet, so you'll keep showing up, right?
It just keep coming to work and hoping my nameplate is on the door out there. So.
Exactly. Coach, I can't thank you enough for, whenever us Jazz players come by, you guys always take great care of us, and it's always a fun time. But I just want to touch on, the passion of your fans, how loud it gets there, whether it's a night game, day game. Obviously, you're playing in a high-level conference. You've been doing this for 25 years. What keeps you coming in and what motivates you to keep going? Because, if I would have told you, 26 years ago, hey, you're going to have a 25-year coaching career, you're going to be a head coach for 15 years, you're going to put 50-plus guys in the NFL, a lot of guys would be like, well, I kind of want to get on to real life after that. What keeps you coming in and grinding at this? Because everybody knows this is not easy.
Right. It is not easy. There's no doubt about that. And it comes at a price. I mean, there's sacrifice. Being a coach, a lot of long hours. We work 80-hour plus weeks during the season. Easy, 90 hours. And your family sacrifices. And so it's the good times are great, but there's a lot of hard work and sacrifice, like I said, that goes into it. I've got a great wife who's very supportive. My wife has done just been phenomenal for me, and really, in a lot of respects, for years and years. For a good portion of the year, she's a single parent because I'm so involved in this job. But I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, and there's nothing more rewarding than seeing a young 17, 18-year-old kid who doesn't really have a lot of direction and not sure where he's going in life come into our program and leave here with a degree in hand, hopefully a chance to play in the NFL and really a future. And that's why you do it, is to help these young men build their futures.
Yeah, obviously, around here, Coach, your name, people sing your praises here because not only are you mentoring these kids to be better football players, but even better people. And it shows, in our community. Obviously, going forward, let's talk a little bit about your life. You talked about your wife. Obviously, you talked about, her raising your kids. What things do you like to do when you're not around football, that kind of keep you sane, whether that's with your family or, by yourself? I can't imagine you getting a lot of alone time with working 90-hour weeks and then having a family.
Yeah, well, during the season, it's all football, so there is no distractions or anything else going on. But in the off season, I try to stay balanced, and there's a ton of things I like to do. I'm an avid golfer. I wish I was better, but I love to get out there. I'm not very good, but love to get out on the golf course. I play tennis. I ride motorcycles. I got a Harley that I like to get on, and me and my wife jump on it, go for 2 or 3 day trips here and there. Water ski. I got a boat, so I get up water skiing and wakeboarding and all that type of stuff. And probably my number one passion of all, at least for my recreational part, is snow skiing. And you live in Utah, you got to ski. It's the best place on earth to ski, and that is really my passion.
That's awesome. Hey, you hear it, ladies and gentlemen. He skis, he motorcycles, stand-up dad, stand-up husband, not only just a football coach, man of many talents. Coach, we're going to break off into, more of a fun segment. I'm not going to drill you with questions. I'm sure you get that all the time. But if you had to pick 4 people, living or dead, to have dinner with, who would they be?
Wow. Okay, Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln for one.
We can talk about Abraham Lincoln. Why would, Abraham Lincoln be someone that you'd want to, sit down and eat with? I know he did a lot of great things, but personally, what piques your interest?
Well, just the kind of man he was and what he did for this country. And, I've done a lot of reading on him and obviously what a great inspiration and helped us get out of some really, ridiculous situations that we're in here and just so much wisdom and such a great leader. That's probably the bottom line, is such a great leader and was exactly what the country needed at that point in time.
Yeah, Coach, and obviously what the type of leadership it takes to lead a big group. You've been doing it for such a long time, which is extremely impressive. Now, what is your favorite sports-related quote. I'm sure you have stuff hanging up around the locker room that's like, flush like a champion, you'll play like a champion. I remember that in college. They had it right over the toilets and the urinals. So that was mine. So let me know what yours is.
Okay, favorite sports quote. Well, one we use around here all the time, and I don't know if it's a quote, but it's more of an adage. Actions, your players' actions are either being taught or they're being allowed to happen. And so when you see something on film, and if a kid is constantly screwing up, I'm going to go to the coach and say, hey, you're either teaching this the wrong way or you're allowing this kid to do it the wrong way. And so that's something that is big in this program is actions are taught or allowed, and you better be teaching things the right way and demanding the right things.
Coach, I caught a number of your games, and I'm going to get off topic here, but so obviously you start off the season, pretty hot. You go play in Southern California, you play USC, and obviously that game was tough. You talk about, actions are taught and different things like that. You guys probably dropped that game where you should have won. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. And then I think you rattle off like 8 in a row, and the next week you beat like a pretty good Washington State team. They came into home. And you guys beat them up pretty good. But then you go on to beat Washington at Washington, and you just seem to run through the Pac-12. What was the transition of your team that year? And just speak on that, because it was kind of almost amazing. Like, if you guys don't have that, one slip up, you're talking about you guys, playing for a championship.
Right, and that was, something that was very disappointing when we went down to the Coliseum and dropped that game. And I'm not going to say our guys were unprepared or not ready to play, because I believe we were. And you got to give a lot of credit to USC. They played outstanding that night. Particularly their wide receivers and the quarterback had an outstanding game. And, I would say that right there was more than anything else a wake-up call for our team. And again, not that we went to that game with the wrong mindset, but it just, put them or alerted them that, hey, if we're going to do this thing, we got to be at our best every single week. We can't have an off game. Pac-12 is too balanced, too competitive to not be at your absolute best. And so for 8 straight weeks, you're right, we turned it on. We hit that switch, and those guys were dialed in for 8 straight weeks.
If I sat here and asked you, what is the biggest challenge every day as a head coach at the University of Utah? What is your biggest challenge?
Well, I would say just to make sure that the mindset of the players and going back to culture, the culture and the mindset is what it needs to be. And that was the biggest lesson I learned when I first became a head coach. I really did not pay enough attention to the psyche of the team. I was all about the work and just getting it done and being tough and physical, and not really being tuned in enough to the mindset and the players, what they were thinking and what was going on in their minds. And so, about the second, third year as a head coach, that it just struck me, and I thought, hey, I got to be more in tune with what the players are thinking and what's going on, I just learned the psyche of the team and the mindset of the team. And it seems that from that point on, we had much better results when we got dialed into that.
Hey, Coach, you talk about the psyche of the team. You can come over to the professional side. All you have to do is worry about them showing up and playing hard. College, I have a ton of respect for college coaches, because not only is it, you have to coach them and, prepare them how to play, but since I've been in the professional business, realistically, college coaching looks more like babysitting than it does coaching sometimes.
Well, you got to keep your thumb on a lot of different things, and we got the academic piece here that you don't have at the professional level, the recruiting piece, and so there's a lot of things that a lot of details that you got to attend to and make sure you're on top of, because you get too many loose ends and it'll sink a ship. So you got to make sure that everything's tightened down and everything's accounted for.
Well, Coach, last question here. I'm sure you have a bucket list. Give us 3 things that are on your bucket list.
Good stuff there. I want to ski at Zermatt over there in Europe. I want to take a ski trip over there. I've never been able to. I won't until I retire, because obviously it's right during the middle of recruiting. I would like to go. I'm a road biker as well, bicycle, and go over to maybe the Pyrenees over there in Europe and bike in the Swiss Alps and get up there on a bicycle. And, you know, I would love to attend a World Series. I'm a baseball nut. I grew up, baseball was my favorite sport all growing up. And I would like to attend a World Series game one of these days.
Well, hopefully it's the Red Sox, because I'm a Red Sox fan.
That's what I heard. You were born back there, right? Massachusetts?
Born and raised, Boston, Massachusetts, brother.
All right. How do you feel about the Celtics?
I can't really talk much about them. They don't sign my checks.
Okay, gotcha. Good answer.
There you have it, guys. Coach Whittingham from the University of Utah. Thank you so much for joining him. Not only is he an amazing football coach, amazing guy, he rides motorcycles, he does some snow skiing, he does it all.
Thanks for having me on, George. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Coach. Thanks so much.
You bet.